Hello and welcome in, Magic players. Much love, Trav here with Adam Yurchick. How's it going, Adam?
Hello, Travis. Hello, everyone. Hey,
If you guys
this is
don't
Adam
know,
Yurchick,
yep.
and
So
I'm doing great.
yeah, and I'm really excited to have Adam here. If you guys don't know Adam, he writes for TCG Player. He has 6 Grand Prix top eight, a Grand Prix victory, missed Pro Tour top eight, ninth place on tiebreaks, two Pro Tour top 16s, played on the national team, which required placing second or first, second, or third. You won TCG Player Max Point thing last December,
hmm
and you're in the community. We work together in the mastermind, and we met in the top four of a Grand Prix Oakland, and we also built a Pro Tour top eight deck together. So we kind of, I mean, that was way back in 2010 when we played at Oakland, right? Was that 6 years ago?
Yeah, it was almost 6.5 years ago,
Yeah.
and that was definitely when I was playing absolutely a ton, and was definitely on top of my game.
Mhm.
And yeah, that was definitely a cool time, and also just a crazy format to look back on,
Yeah.
extended, which now doesn't exist.
Yes, that was kind of the end of extended. You were kind of the dark depths master, which was insane. I mean, we played in Oakland and you beat me in the top four, and then ended up losing to Matt Nass in the finals. And then we both
hmm
went to Houston the next month, and then I finished 21st, which is pretty good, I thought.
Yeah.
But then you won that tournament. You go second and then first at a Grand Prix. Like, what does that feel like to like last time? There's those are there was I don't know, the Grand Prix hadn't ballooned to 3-4 thousand people, but there was
hmm
thousand or thousands of people at those tournaments. How does that
Yeah,
feel to get second and then first? It seems crazy.
yeah, it was completely crazy. Yeah, it felt great to win. I mean, honestly, getting second felt pretty fine. It stung because I think that I could have actually just won the tournament had I played differently.
Mhm.
Um, but I think I probably just had a chip on my shoulder and just really just wanted to win the next one. But I honestly didn't even go. I almost didn't even go to the tournament. Wasn't even like hadn't been playing extended. I didn't wasn't testing the deck or anything. I actually refused to buy them on Magic Online to buy the Dark Depths. So I actually never played with the deck online and really never even owned the
Mhm.
cards for it. I
Wow.
actually had to borrow
Wow.
stuff for it.
So how did you test
And
for that?
I didn't. I
What?
just, the night before in the hotel room,
What?
basically. So yeah, so I at the time I was like, yeah, I'm just really good. I can just
Uh-huh.
pick up the deck, and I guess some of that was true, but the actual reality was I was really, really well versed in the extended format at that
Mhm.
time. I realized that I had been playing extended consistently, for 4 or 5 months because Worlds that last December was also extended format, so I was testing for that, and I just took my experience in the format. And then once I saw the Dark Depths deck, it used all my favorite cards, but in a combo deck instead of bad control decks, which I was
Yeah.
playing.
And for
And I
those of you
just knew
guys,
it was the deck.
30-second primer on the deck for those of you guys who don't know it. It had two combos jammed in. It was like three decks. It has the Vampire Hexamage Dark Depths deck, which can make a 20/20 on the first or second turn with Chrome Mox. And it could force that through with discard or with counter spells. It also had the
Mm-hmm.
Thopter Found, so it had the quick kill. And it also had the Thopter Foundry Sword of the Meat combo, which turns every mana into a 1/1 flyer and a life, so it could win the long game with that. And it also had tons of disruption, tons of search, and it had Dark Confidant with discard to just kind of win fair
Mm-hmm.
games. You'd sideboard into control decks. I don't know if you were playing like 6 mana
Mm-hmm.
5/5 Flying Shroud or whatever, but a lot of people were. You just it's just a blue black control deck sometimes. So that to me that's like the most awesome, almost the most awesome deck of all time. I never played it, but I loved going against it because of the challenge. It was just an insane deck.
Yeah, and also, so in between Oakland and Houston, World Wake came out, and a card called Jace the Mind Sculptor was printed.
Ah.
So it also played Jace the Mind Sculptor, and it boarded into Damnation. So like it basically just had it all.
Yeah, yeah, that deck was in that's insane. I mean, what's crazy to me is like you didn't test that much. You didn't test with it. Um, but there was probably 100 people playing that deck at those tournaments, if not more. It was
Hmm.
the most popular, if not kind of the second most, next to Zoo. Maybe Zoo was easier to get. I don't know. Those were the two decks. And I remember playing against it like 6 times at Oakland or something. And I had a pretty good matchup with Living End. But that's one of the reasons Living End did so well. Even though I ended up losing to Fulminator Mage and Ingot Chewer and stuff, and Violent
Yeah.
Outburst at instant speed is pretty effective. But I mean, what's crazy to me is it was you who got second and first. It wasn't um, someone who had been testing with the deck a lot more. So do you think that like metagame knowledge is that much of an edge? Just kind of
Yeah.
understanding the features.
Yeah. So basically, playing the deck was just navigating everything they could do. So I just had to understand all of their options. I mean, obviously, having thought sees helped a lot because I could see their hand, but like I knew what was in their deck, and I just had to be very aware of what my opponent was doing. Because if I didn't know what they had, I would have just walked into their cards. So yeah, that really was critical to it.
Uh-huh. I mean, obviously, like you've done a lot of stuff, other stuff before then and since then. That's just, I mean, that's when we first played. But I think it'd be cool to kind of tell the story of how we were involved in building a Pro Tour top 8 deck together. And
Yeah.
for me, that was like such a bucket list thing. I mean, different people have different goals. I don't know what yours was. Some people want to win a pro. Obviously, it seems as though your goal was to top 8, if not win a pro tour. That was never really my goal. I wanted to build a deck that top 8 or won a pro tour. So for
Hmm.
me, I thought that would be even cooler because it shows that you have influence more than your own ability. So that was like my dream. So um, yeah, let's talk about that. Uh, so that deck, and I mean, you came into the picture later, but
Yeah.
I don't think it would have top aided without the stuff that you and Max Pincus added because no one else was looking at it, and it had some flaws, and it wasn't until some more people were invested that it really came together with some insane additions.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as I remember it, it was almost not even taken seriously
It
because it
wasn't.
was yeah, as I recall it, it was almost looked at as kind of like a Kimmy deck. It was all
Uh
about
huh.
putting Emrakul play
Yeah.
with Through the Breach,
Yes.
and and it was a new format because so to paint the picture, this Pro Tour Philadelphia in
The first modern
2011.
Pro Tour.
This happened after the end of the extended format that Travis and I were discussing with Dark Depths and all that. That format ended, and a year later, Modern started, which moved forward with Mirrodin and Ninth Edition. And so this was a brand new format that the pros essentially were tackling for this
Yep.
Pro Tour.
Yeah, that was unique because it was new. So
So no one knew anything.
some of the standout decks here were Pyrometra Ascension combo, Affinity, Zoo was still good.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Winter
Mono
Twin.
Blue Infect had its breakout, and then Cloud Post was a big deck, whether we were there or not. So I mean, basically, this Cloud Post deck used Cloud Post, Glimmervost, and Vesuva. It was called 12 Post, and it was really fast, consistent, could gain a lot of life. The problem is that it was like somewhat slow against combo decks. It could grind through anything. You had Primeval Titan, you had Green Sun Zenith to find Primeval Titan, and you could cast Primeval Titan very quickly. But I wanted to speed it up. So I remember at that time, at first I was working with Cedric and with Ari, and I was messaging you as well. I remember you said you could pull up the message. It was like we were having, I believe we were having a conversation about Through the Breach, and it was like, so Through the Breach Emrakul was an obvious thing because it gave the deck a turn 3 kill, kind of. But it was like, wait a minute,
Mhm.
you can Through the Breach Primeval Titan and get 4 Cloud Posts. And yeah, no one had really realized it at that point, um, that you could Through the Breach Primeval Titan. So most of the versions of the deck were playing stuff like Sylvan Scrying to search for Cloud Post, kind of like Neutron decks. But when it was obvious that you just want to Through the Breach Emrakul on turn 3 every game, or just cast Primeval Titan on turn 4 and gain life and win on turn 5. It was like, we don't want to play any land search at all, actually. We want to play ramp. So we played Overgrown Battlement,
Mhm.
and we played Signets. So by the time that I got to Philadelphia, I had messaged some people. I had tested a lot. I had a good show. I knew that it was very good because I had actually tested matchups, but it was pretty linear and still didn't have much interaction. So we get to the house, and we were just talking about this. Like, that was the worst testing house ever. It was right. It was.
It's miraculous that this deck, which went on to top 8 the Pro Tour, came out of that environment.
Yes.
So we didn't have an internet connection to do drafts online, and we certainly didn't have packs. So I guess that meant we focused on constructed. So I guess that had something going for it as
Yeah.
far as the
I mean,
constructed deck. But yeah, it was not focused at all. There were
11.
multiple people
I believe there were
who were
11
not.
of us, and none of us made day 2.
Yeah, 11 of us in the house. A couple of people who weren't even at the Pro Tour, who obviously were big distractions, and none of us made day 2. But luckily,
Yeah.
we had put this deck in the hands of someone capable with
Yeah.
a lot of limited experience.
I mean, I punted a little bit. I think we both went 3-2 with the deck, which is okay.
Mm-hmm.
But we
Yeah,
both, I mean, not drafting once, or only once or twice for a Pro Tour is just unacceptable. So that was really the downfall. And I mean, that's what carried Jesse Hampton to the top 8, is he not only did well
yeah.
with the deck, but he had actually practiced draft and
Mm-hmm.
was able to, I believe he 6-0'd his draft and then just cruised into the top 8. So yeah, when we got there, you just got the sense that people weren't there to test; they were there to hang out. It was a fun environment, but it wasn't very productive. Um, I mean, no one, as you said, like no one took the deck seriously. No one would even test against me. It was like, why am I even here? So I was kind of,
We didn't even have other decks to test against.
yeah, there was like someone had a twin deck the first day, and then they took it apart and never put it back together. Yeah, and that was the breakout of twin. So
And
twin won the Pro Tour. Yeah,
yeah,
but um, I was trying to get people interested in the deck, and a couple days before, you started to take a look at it, and another guy, Max Pincus, who was not playing, started to take a look at it, and that's when some of the important innovations happened. So, um, you, I remember you really wanted to play Beast Within.
hmm
Um, I didn't really like the card because you had to just dilute the combo to play it.
yeah.
But
And it's kind of a bad card.
yeah, but it was just what the deck needed as being the best
hmm
interactive spell in our colors. It kind of was very good in the Cloud Post mirror because you could blow up their land.
Yeah.
It gave us instant speed game against Twin. It let us blow up Pyromancer Ascension. It gave
Yes.
us instant speed interaction against Infect, and it wasn't
Yes.
really.
Also,
It was more like 2 mana than 3 mana because of the ramp we had. So, without that addition, the deck is just was not super special. But I mean, honestly, like Max Pincus's what he brought to the table was just ridiculous. So we were trying to figure out the mana base, um, and figure out, I think this is the big thing because I was playing fetch lands and shock lands up to this point.
Hmm.
Because I don't know, I didn't think of another way. I hadn't really
Yeah.
conceived, and it was just too much life to pay. It was making the zoo match too close. Um, and then Max is like, why not play Grove of the Burn Willows? And that card is a given in Tron now, but back then it wasn't super obvious. But once we had Grove, we could add Punishing Fire, and that made the deck totally insane. Like to me, that is like when it became a Pro Tour top 8 deck.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, the thing is, we were building a deck for Pro Tour,
Yeah.
so it was a metagame that we had to figure out and then position against it. So Beast Within might not make sense at all to play in a deck that doesn't need interaction. Like Tron right now doesn't play Beast Within, but the way that we were approaching the format, looking at what was possible, there was a lot of degenerate decks, a lot of synergies that we had to break up. And right now I'm looking at the list of finishing decks, and number one, Splinter Twin, where Beast Within breaks something up.
Mhm.
And we have Fling Affinity, where it kills Cranial Plating.
Mhm.
Sam Black's Infect deck with Blazing Shoal, it stops that. A couple Pyromancer Ascension decks stops that. And then, so with that, obviously it was doing a lot of work for Jesse over the tournament. It was great for me. And then with a sideboard like Punishing Fire, that attacked a whole other side of the metagame
Mhm.
and just punished creatures. I mean, I guess as it played out, creatures were really relatively weak at the event. I guess it was just Zoo with
Uh-huh.
Wild Mikado that really
Yeah.
shined.
Well, I mean, that was insanely brilliant because
Yeah.
it was Punishing Fire Grove was like not it had been it was just not considered good because the Zudex played a bunch of 3 toughness stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So no one played it, but it was insane in the sideboard because it was very good against Affinity. It was good against some of these hate bear decks. I played against Shout to
Yeah.
Yasuoka and just totally mopped the floor with him with
Wow.
with Punishing Fire, and it was very good against the mono blue Infect deck. So I thought that was like super counterintuitive. You very rarely see Punishing Fire Grove in the sideboard. Like I've never ever seen that.
Yeah, it makes so much sense there, though.
Yeah. So, I mean, finally we had a deck. I believe the one card we really missed was Spellskite. That's become a huge staple in modern since then, but no one really knew how good it was back then. Um,
Yeah.
we played Chalice of the Void instead, which just was okay. It wasn't quite as good. And Jesse ended up losing to. We'll talk about how Jesse got the deck, but Jesse ended up losing to Sam Black's Infect deck in the top 8.
Yeah,
Um,
which is probably the most miserable matchup conceivable.
yeah, but I mean, you get the sense that if he had Spellskite, um,
Oh, yeah.
maybe
Would
he
have
could have
changed it.
advanced, and then he would have played against
Mm-hmm.
Zoo, and then hey, maybe he wins the Pro Tour. So
Yeah.
I can't help
Yeah.
but think about that. That
Oh, wow.
we could have brought him a little bit further if we had
Mhm.
figured out the sideboard a little bit better. But yeah, so for those of you guys listening who are like, all right, well, neither of you guys made day 2, but it was in the top 8. I mean, I um, I like to share. I For a pro tour, you want to be somewhat secretive, but I mean, what you'll find is a lot of people just don't take your ideas seriously, anyways. So, I mean, I sent the list to a handful of people, and like a lot of people had the list and just didn't play it. They're like, you know. So Jesse is someone I sent the message to. I know Jesse from Seattle. I've known Jesse since like 2004, 2003 Junior Super Series. And I sent him a message and with no response. And then he shows up like the night before or the morning of, and it's like, all right, I'm playing the deck. I have the cards. It's like, all right, sweet. The deck I felt was like fairly simple to play. Um, and draft was a lot harder, and perhaps that's how we failed. So another takeaway is like,
Yeah.
man, if you're gonna go to the Pro Tour, make sure that you have a house where you can draft. And if you're Brett Blackman, I like you, Brett, but if you're gonna host a Pro Tour house, you have to make you have to make the internet work to draft. Like,
Uh, yeah, or call the taxi to the Starbucks or the internet cafe.
uh-huh.
Yeah, we should have done something. So, something I wanted to touch on
Hmm.
about the deck, that was one of the elements that really made it work, is Green Sun Zenith.
Yes.
You mentioned it earlier, and kind of as just just when talking about the deck as a throwaway, and it's now banned. And they talked about the
Cloud
main
Post
reason
got
it was
banned
banned
too.
is yeah, Cloud Post was also banned because it was so good with Dryad Arbor.
Yes.
So this deck took advantage of Green Sun Zenith and Dryad Arbor, so it could accelerate on one. You could search up Secure a Tribe Elder and search up Titan, Wall of Roots,
Uh-huh.
anything. It just gave the deck a lot of consistency, and it's just funny how this deck was completely gutted soon after.
Yes.
So it definitely demonstrated some really powerful things
Multiple
that were
cards got
clearly
banned as a result.
too good for the format.
You mentioned Sakura Tribe Elder. I believe here's another way
Yeah.
the deck could have been better, perhaps.
hmm
We played a mountain for the Tribe Elder, which was not ideal. Um,
hmm
and we could have played Birds of Paradise instead of Sakura Tribe Elder and cut the mountain for a forest. I
Yeah,
had that thought.
it's clear that's better looking at
Yeah,
it.
but I mean, what can you do with the week? You can't always get everything perfect. And then the deck
Wow.
gets banned, so you can't keep playing with it anyways.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's one of my favorite memories in Magic. It was like a dream come true, and it was cool to do it with other people and to see Jesse make it all the way and be kind of helping him prepare while John Finkel was helping Sam Black prepare. That was one of the, being the mastermind behind that was cool. And I've never really told that story on this channel or in too much detail. We've never talked about it like this, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. And so what are you up to now? Obviously, um, maybe your best run was in years past, but you still compete. You won the TCG thing in like December, and then you just missed playing for a Grand Prix top eight very recently. And also, you're doing the content thing with TCG Player. We're working in the Mastermind. So, what do you really see yourself doing with Magic? Or, I mean, have you accomplished a lot of what you wanted to accomplish? Where's your head at right now?
Yeah, I've been enjoying doing what I've been doing, putting out for TCG Player article every week, and I've actually started doing limited videos. I've been doing a flashback draft every week, and I'll be drafting Eldritch Moon soon. So I've really been enjoying that. Writing a column for Quiet Speculation,
Mm-hmm.
a financial site.
Interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. And then, yeah, you mentioned the Mastermind Group, which is a group Travis and I and Ben Friedman have been working on. And we just have a team of people that are all serious about getting better at Magic and doing well at the
Mm-hmm.
highest level. And that has definitely been enjoyable. It's been good to hear people's good feedback and good results.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So, yeah, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing and competing.
it's cool seeing people improve. And by the way, for those of you listening who've made it all the way this far, if you're interested in the mastermind, it's applicant based. We select some people, and there might be a link up on the screen right now, or if not, there's a link in the description. So, just wanted to let you all know about that. But and yeah, it's cool that we could come together after all these years, and with Ben as well, and some of the other guys in there who probably deserve to be named, but Sean Pottinger, now Trey Van Cleve, Jason Ford
Yeah.
from time to time. Pascal was involved a little bit, and I mean, I'm sure there will be more people coming. and perhaps some people going as well. But it's been a lot of fun, and I'm glad that I'm glad that you've been involved. So for people listening, if they want to reach you, how can they do that?
A great place to reach me is on Twitter at Adam Yurchick, or you can find me on Facebook. My name Adam Yurchick, or any of my articles in the comments. I'm pretty responsive. So any questions you could run there or just
Uh-huh.
hit me up.
Yeah, check it out on TCG Player. Lots
Yeah,
of good
definitely.
deck lists in there and deck analysis, metagame analysis, and it's coming from someone who has done that. And there's also I haven't checked out your quiet spec column. I didn't know. Is that on the free side or on the premium side?
It's on the premium side,
Mm-hmm.
and I do that usually every other week or so.
Uh-huh.
And it's just about Magic Finance. Usually, I just use metagame analysis and looking at metagame trends,
Mm-hmm.
determine what the future is going to hold, and then just suggest cards based on that.
Uh-huh. Super interesting. All right.
Yeah,
Well, anything else you want to add?
I wanted to definitely say I'm excited. Mastermind that we've been playing together every week on the calls. I know Ben
Mm-hmm.
spearheaded it, discussing our plays and
Mm-hmm.
going over videos of playing. It's like really efficient and effective way to get better. To anyone listening, one of the best ways for you personally to improve your game, if you're playing online, record, go back and watch the recordings of your game. Magic Online logs them. You can watch your
Yes.
replays, and you will level up. Or if you're playing on any other third-party program, you can record yourself. If you're playing live and you have a camera, set it up. That is definitely, you will see mistakes very quickly. And second to that, watch other people playing, watch coverage of events, watch streams,
Yep.
and
Get as much feedback as you can get as well. So,
Mhm.
good advice,
and,
Adam.
yeah. And also, Travis, you got Brooding Saurian into the top 8 of a Pro Tour.
Did I? What does that card
Yeah.
even do?
At the end of each turn, each player gains control of
Oh
all
yeah.
non-token permanents he or she
Oh yeah,
owns.
yeah. For those curious about that, it was a 4 mana 4/4. So basically,
Anti-control magic.
yeah, if the opponent bribery was somewhat popular sideboard card to take Emrakul. And if you get grab Brooding Saurion, you can basically you can Green Sun Zenith for the Brooding Saurion and take your Emrakul back. And I think
Mhm.
we had some metagame play where like you yeah, I think you maybe you have brooding. I don't know if this is allowed or not, but you like have brooding Saurion face up on top of your sideboard,
Yes.
and then you never sideboard it in. And if they bribery you, they like look at your deck and don't see brooding Saurion, so they have to assume it's in your hand. Oh no 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 no! It was I think we like oh no it's better than that. You, that might be cheating. I don't recommend that. You board in Brooding Saurion, you board out one Green Sun Zenith, because when they bribery you, they look for
Oh.
the Emrakul, and then they see Brooding Saurion, and then they count your Green Sun Zeniths and count one down, which means one is in your hand, and then
Mhm.
they don't get anything with bribery. So that didn't come up, but it was one of the like sweetest plays that might have been.
Yeah, I mean, before the event, Brad Nelson asked me to borrow a bribery. He was asking around. He asked me if I had a bribery. So might have been in the right place. I mean, Josh Layton did top 8 with bribery.
Yeah.
No, he
So
didn't. No, he actually didn't. He didn't play it. I guess other people on their team did. So
yeah. Well.
yes, Dorian in the top 8. So
Oh, you
yeah,
gotta
thanks
look for
for
plays like that
sharing
to
that.
sideboard out like one card. Yeah, that was.
Yeah, that's a whole other video we could do.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's enough. Thanks to everyone for listening and leave a comment. Check out the Mastermind and go follow Adam on Twitter and Facebook and check out his column. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks.